welcome to the channel. I'm excited to be speaking a little bit about the latest episode drop for Under the Bridge, episode 4, titled Beautiful British Columbia. Now, before I do that, I will be revealing some spoilers. So if you haven't watched the show, it's on Hulu. You can stream it now. So before I get into episode 4, I want to just quickly recap in episode 3 and what happened. And it was revealed that Josephine did not kill Reena, bringing sort of this new twist to the story and raising questions about what happened. So in the final scene of episode 3, Kelly, Josephine's best friend, implied that she did everything for her, hinting at her role in Reena's death. And that last scene, you see Reena's boots. That was a focal point with the girls. Obviously, they were feeling a little jealous. Now we turn to episode 4, and episode 4 explores Reena's past life, kind of getting into her history and experiences long before her death. So in the episode, we see Reena's parents extend an invitation to her friends for dinner at their home. That's the main thing that's happening in episode 4. They arrive at the house, and apparently the girls' attitude towards everyone there is obviously rude and disrespectful. If you remember that the last episode, you see Kelly and it's mainly Kelly and Josephine getting the invite from Reena to go to her parents for dinner, and they're looking at each other and making eye contact, and you can tell that they're scheming. So they get into the house, they meet Reena's parents. Joe steals Reena's mother's gold earrings, and then at the dinner table, Joe's behavior peaks and she ends up insulting Reena's dad and leaves the house. And to be fair, Reena's dad said some things to Joe that perhaps might have escalated the situation a bit. And of course, Reena accuses her parents for the outburst at the dinner table. She goes after her friend after they've left, and they drive off, and she goes to her room, cries in her room about the situation. So in response, her parents tell Reena that her so-called friends aren't really friends, and she leaves to see the girls at Seven Oaks. So obviously she disagrees, and so she goes over to Seven Oaks, and she's trying to make things right and desperate to get in with them. Joe basically tells her she needs to be a gangster and do gangster things. And so Reena goes to the social worker at Seven Oaks and reports her dad as an abuser. And at the end of the episode, we see Reena moving into Seven Oaks and her dad being arrested for sexual abuse. And so that is the quick rundown recap of the episode. I find it very interesting. We do see Reena's parents and how they met when Reena's dad came to visit his sister in British Columbia many, many years ago. His sister took him to a party and ended up being Reena's mom's parents' house. And they were having a party. And at that party, we're trying to get her to agree to an arranged marriage. Reena's dad overhears this conversation and basically saves Reena's mom from having to deal with that and basically steals her away. So they get to talking. They fall in love. Reena's mom and parents are Jehovah's Witnesses, so there's a religious aspect in the dynamic between those two. And Reena's dad is not, and he has a beard, and so there's this emphasis of the beard. Jehovah's Witnesses don't wear beards because it's a sign of rebellion. As the story plays out in the episode, we see that, yes, Reena's dad is trying to get a green card so that he could stay. Reena's mom doesn't know that at the time. Her mom tells her, I know you like this guy, but I don't know if you've done any research, but he's probably in this relationship because he needs a green card and he needs an out or an in. And so in order to convince Sumna that he's serious, he shaves his beard because he wants to prove to her that he really is in love with her and really wants to be with her and doesn't want to lose her. And yes, there is this thing hanging over them about the green card, but all in all, he's sincere about his feelings and is willing to sacrifice moving to British Columbia to be with her, shaving off his beard. So there's this element of sacrifices that Reena's dad has made to get them to where they're at. And so he converts to Jehovah's Witness. Meanwhile, Reena, she kind of is in this place of just rebellion and doesn't want anything to do with her parents, doesn't want anything to do with the religion, doesn't want anything to do with anything Indian. Birds of a feather flock together. So Reena is she's kind of just trying to fit in so desperately with the girls at Seven Oaks, and it just is so sad to see, honestly. And I kind of wish this episode wasn't totally about their backstory, but I understand why it was. In order to obviously understand what happened to Reena, we need to go back and check out her history of her family and dating all the way back to her grandparents. And it's just interesting to me that Reena is just so hell-bent in rejecting everything that she is, basically, so that she could fit in with these girls. It unfortunately gets her killed. So I could see this episode being more than just backstory on Reena and her family, but also backstory on Rebecca and her brother and what happened there in Keough and why she left. I'm all for backstory. I just wish you kind of had me with the last episode and wanting to know more about Rebecca and her brother. And now we know why Reena's dad has a record and it got expunged. And so we're moving things right along with the story. So that is my recap and review of the latest episode of Under the Bridge, titled Beautiful British Columbia. It's now streaming on Hulu, and we'll talk to you next week.